Hello and welcome to a webinar today on behalf of CPS for unleashing the power of Dynamics 365 Copilot and Copilot for the Power Platform. So first of all, we're going to jump straight in. We've got half an hour today, so we're not going to mess about. We're going to jump straight into some features of Dynamics 365 Copilot, and we will start talking around those. If there are questions, please drop them into the chat as we go through, and I will recap those throughout. So, first of all, Dynamics 365 service. So these are the modules for Dynamics that are traditionally field service and customer service. What we're going to do today is just cover the features that are coming and that are also available within Dynamics 365 service. So one of the first things that we can do within Dynamics 365 service is ask free-form questions. So I've got some screenshots here. I wasn't able to configure a demo, unfortunately, on the customer service issues, on the customer side of things. But what we are able to do is we've got a few screenshots, and one of the things that you can do with Copilot for Dynamics 365 service, this app would appear on the right-hand side of Dynamics 365, is use it to ask questions as you were asking questions to a colleague or a superior, and that enables you to resolve cases in a much more efficient way. So in the example on the screen there, what we've got is that there's a case that's being created, and ultimately the agent is trying to resolve that case. And one of the things that we can do there is to resolve it by querying the data within the system using Copilot to do that. So in this instance, we're looking at a replacement switch, and then Copilot is able to look at that data and present back the price ranges for those switch. And we can actually directly copy that data from Copilot and place that into a response. That's a really powerful way that we can push information back to our customers based on the case that has been created. One of the other benefits of Copilot within service is summarizing cases. So if we are ultimately picking up a case as a service agent, and there's a long history for that case that's been open for quite a while, well, one of the things that we may want to do is actually understand what has happened around that case. So we can actually get a case summary. So it'll summarize that case, and on the back of it, we can then present messages back to the agents so that they can get up to speed in a much more efficient way. And we'll see that here. So we've got this conversation summary. So when we are using Microsoft Teams, or we are using Agent Chat, for example, what we can do is we can summarize a conversation using Dynamics 365 to the agents. So let's say there's a conversation history. So you've logged onto the website, a customer's logged onto a website, and they've had a conversation with the chatbot, and then that has been forwarded to an agent. Well, the agents can now request a summary by Copilot rather than having to reread all of that chat history. So that is a really good way of getting an efficiency boost. We can also do more detailed case summary. So what you can do is you can actually start to refine the responses back, and you can do that from different prompts that you get within Dynamics 365 and Copilot. So you can really start to push those responses back. And what we've got here is a summary of that case, as I spoke about earlier, around a live chat. So they've had a live chat with an issue on their coffee machine, and they've been able to looking at the blogs and so on and so forth. So you've got that summary that the people can look at. And then we also have the ability to respond to identified questions. So if a question has been asked, so in here we've got Copilot is able to take a customer request and take out the keywords from that customer. In this instance, it's around the pressure on the auto frother, so the coffee machine. They are able to push ultimately that information back, and that enables Copilot to suggest a resolution to that issue. So that will go and query things like knowledge base articles that exist, but ultimately we can push that really quickly back to the customer, and you can see there that Copilot is actually willing to send that response directly to the customer. You can also check the sources, so you can make sure that it's coming from an up-to-date knowledge base article or anything in between. So really powerful with the service issues. You know, a lot of it is focused on agents being able to streamline their workflow and being able to present customers, you know, with resolutions in a much more efficient way. So that's ultimately what we get within the service issues. And finally, we have a email response as well. So the emailers, so in that instance, this is around the issue with the Smart Brew, and they are able to suggest a response, which is at the moment around having a quick call to discuss those issues. So that's really powerful and a really good way of being able to push those features to ultimately to Daisy, that's the wrong screen, to the end users. So now let me move along. So we're going to look at Dynamics 365 Sales, and I have got a demo on this, so I will get that up and just show an example of how we can utilize Dynamics 365 Sales to automate efficiencies. So here we have an email. I've emailed myself to make it easier, but ultimately what we are able to do with this email is utilize Microsoft Copilot to pull out information and generate responses utilizing the Dynamics 365 Sales Copilot. So these features are available with the Dynamics 365 Enterprise licenses. They do not require premium licenses, which is really beneficial. They do not require the Dynamics 365 Copilot for Sales full license, because these are available via the Enterprise license. So when we select Copilot for Sales, we get a few options. And what we have here is that this contact has been saved already in our Dynamics instance. We can see that the account and who owns that account, and when we can see how to collaborate with them, so they belong to CPS. What we can do is we can start to draft a response. So we can ask Copilot to draft an email back to our customer based on their ask. So if we do reply to inquiry, so can you provide a quote to the customer, and that will then go and create the draft. What we might find is that there's not much information at the moment available to us, so it may ask for more information. But what we've got here is a response straight away that we may be able to send back to the customer. Obviously, with all things AI, we really want to make sure that we are reviewing them. But again, this is another efficiency tool that enables the sales colleagues to streamline their responses. In this instance, I've asked around a deep cleaning of houses. The environment doesn't have much information around cleaning services, but if your Dynamics instance had products and services around this, it would then go and query that data to push that through. So what we can do is we can adjust that draft, so we can make it shorter, we can make it more formal or more friendly, and then we can also suggest a meeting time as well. So in this instance, the response was, would like to get a meeting. This is actually looking at your diary as well. So it's looking at salesperson's diary so that they can schedule that meeting. And if we then select update, that will then regenerate the information, and we have that meeting time, and it's been shortened. So a really cool tool that's embedded into Outlook, which every single majority of people use, but a really good way of being able to do that. And then from there, we can copy it and respond to that customer with that email. What we can do as well is we can be more specific with our prompts. So we could say, create a response to provide a quote it will cost £500 per house to clean. And what that will do is it will go away, and in theory, I don't know exactly what it's going to respond with, but that will give us a response back to that customer. So we can then go back and suggest that. And again, we can add in those filters so we can make it more formal. We can suggest a meeting date to discuss this in more detail. So a really cool tool there in terms of Dynamics 365 Copilot for Sales on how we can ultimately generate responses. So that's really cool. So now we're going to just jump back into customer service and just look at the license requirements. So obviously with this being Microsoft, there are always license requirements to consider. So the first is within Dynamics 365 customer service, if you have the enterprise license, you will be you'll be enabled to summarize cases, ask questions as an agent, draft emails, and then ultimately use Copilot for analytics as well. You would need to have the customer service add-in to be able to draft chat responses and summarize conversations. However, so just so people understand the different license options around Dynamics 365 service. So moving on to sales. So I've mentioned around drafting the responses. That's obviously a really powerful tool there. And then we also have the ability to save a contact. So if it's a net new customer that has emailed, well, what we can do is we can save that contact to Dynamics 365 so that then we can log all of that information. This opens up a card where they have to go and populate the information as a sales exec or an account person. And once they have filled out all the information, that customer will then be saved, and therefore on the conclusion of all other contact, that information will be natively saved to Dynamics 365 as well. So we are able to push and ultimately change that focus of where people work into the apps that they're using every day. So it's that ability to focus on where is it useful to do things versus, what is more of a hindrance, really focusing on that user experience and also streamlining the way that it does that. The sales executives in this instance haven't got to go out of Outlook. They can save that contact, generate a response natively within the Dynamics, within the Outlook application. So next, one thing that you can do as well within Dynamics 365 Sales is utilize meeting preparation, so content for meeting prep. So what we have here is a Word document. So this is the the interface that you would see within a Word document, and from there you can actually use Copilot to support it in preparation for a sales meeting. What that will do is it can pull out information such as the display participants' names, job title, and role in the opportunity. It also shows whether the participants have accepted that meeting invite. So if you've got let's say an account review for a week's time, you may want to pull together some collateral to support that. It will summarize the opportunity, so it provides that overview and the latest activity that is generated by Copilot. It can open tasks for the opportunity and displays up to 3 open tasks for that opportunity, and the tasks are sorted by the priority and the due date. If a task is overdue, then it's also indicated in that summary. So again, being able to, as an account executive, you are able to provide that complete summary of the account. That will also look into open cases as well. So it will display up to 3 open cases so that they can understand, what cases there are, and the top 3 will display that are sorted by priority and creation date. So that if you're going into that account meeting and they've had a case open for several weeks that's in breach of their SLA, one of the first things that you may want to do is actually tackle the elephant in the room, let's say, because that may have put a bad taste in the mouth for that customer. And what you want to do is just say, look, we understand that this case is outstanding, but we're able to work through that. And this is one of the tools that enables that that person having those conversations to push all that information to one place so they are informed with the right opportunity. And then we have displaying up to the open opportunities, so we can also see the pipeline of work for that account. So what do we have in terms of opportunity with this customer, and what are, for the last 6 months, and then we can sort those as well by default by the close date, so oldest to newest. We also have the ability to view the show a summary of the recent emails. So Copilot will go and poll all of the activity for that account and display the email summary that is connected to the opportunity. And then we have meeting insights as well. So it highlights any follow-up actions from the previous meeting. So make sure that things have progressed. You can make sure that, if you do this in preparation of that customer meeting, you could say, right, I want to make sure that all the actions have been complete, whether or not they were my responsibility or somebody else's. I can then get that information to go and chase it up. So really powerful way of being able to push all of that information to the sales executives. And with Dynamics 365, there's a sort of a split between the licensing. It's a little bit more complicated with Dynamics 365 Copilot for Sales. So the enterprise license, so Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise, will provide users with elements of Copilot. So the email summary that I did earlier, and also the contact saving, are features that are available within Dynamics 365 Enterprise. However, for more critical and more funky features like the embedded into Microsoft Word to pull that account information out, that would require a Microsoft Copilot for Sales license. However, that does also include Copilot for Microsoft 365. So as a person with that license, you'll get access to the Microsoft 365 Copilot and also the Sales Copilot. So you'd get sort of two applications within the same license fee, which is quite a good big benefit. So what we're going to do now is take a look at some of the other AI features that exist. So we're going to jump into a little demo in a second, but ultimately what we have is Microsoft AI Hub, previously AI Builder. There's various different pre-built models that you can go and use as an organization, and they vary from invoice automation to document automation to pulling out text from photographs, pulling out receipt information, scanning business card, conducting sentiment analysis, and also object recognition. So I'm going to jump into a demo around invoice automation, how quick it is to configure, and then how you could then go and use that to automate that invoice processing. Document automation, again, if you've got structured content that comes in the format of documents, well, you can push that through the AI tools within the Power Platform, and that can then push that data that it pulls out into your different applications and different reporting tools. So a few ones that we find are really useful that we've seen organizations push is sentiment analysis. So if you've got information, say feedback, for example, that's coming from your customers, you could complete sentiment analysis on that feedback to say whether the customer is positive or whether that customer is a negative customer. So what is their experience? Is it good or is it bad? So jumping into a quick demo. So we are currently, if I just give this a refresh, it's loaded. So we're in Power Platform now. We're going to just jump into the AI Builder, and I'm going to just show an example, if it wants to load, of how you can query invoices and extract information. So what we have here is we've created the model, so using the invoices as a document type. We then go through and we can choose the information to extract. So one thing we're going to do now is add in I forgot the name, so let's just take a look at one of these documents. So here, this is an example of an invoice, and you can see that by default, the system has been able to highlight certain areas of the document, and these have been mapped to different fields that we can then utilize further down the line. So what we can see here, however, is that the phone number hasn't been recognized. So what we're going to go and do is create a new field that will enable the phone number to be captured. So we can go back and we go back again, we add in the field. We'll do it as a text field, then we'll just do phone number, and we can select done. So we go to next and next again. And what we do is we select the content and we can see that text field that has appeared. And now that has been selected. And what we have to do when we look at provisioning an AI model is utilize a minimum of 5 documents to train it. What I recommend is that if you're looking at doing this for a production instance, you would do that, 10, 20, 30, 40 times to train that model to improve its accuracy. Also, if you've got invoices that come from different customers or different suppliers, we send them out to different suppliers and you're wanting to conduct similar automation, then what you would do is create different collections of documents, and those collections could be from the different customers. So this is limited, so that you've got that same format and can improve the accuracy each time. So here we'll go through, we will select a phone number, we'll move to the next document, and so on and so forth. So we just go through and manually just tag that those documents with that information. And the last one, and a customer phone number. And now we select next, and what we'll see is that we've got all the price information that's already been captured and so on and so forth. So now we can go next, and we can train that model. We've added that custom field, so it needs to now go and train it so that it can actually recognize where that phone number is. So we select train. This will go away now and ultimately train that AI model. And then what we do is we can publish it and conduct further tests, so to make sure that it's recognizing the invoices. So if we've got another additional 5 that we want to just see it is publishing, then that's really useful. So we'll just give us a second, it'll take a few moments. So talking around invoice processing, we've currently worked with an organisation and they're processing approximately 2,000 invoices a month using this now. That used to be a large proportion of a team that used to do that, and now they're able to utilise AI Builder to process the majority of invoices. Those people have been repurposed in the business so that they can now focus on other initiatives, but ultimately they've been able to save a significant amount of manpower by processing these invoices automatically. So this is taking a little while to load. So what we'll see now is that the model hasn't been published, but what we've got are the accuracy for each of those 2 different fields. So we've got seller name and customer phone number. What we can do is do an additional quick test. So we can go into my device, select another invoice, and what that will do is analyze it and make sure that it's mapping the appropriate information to the appropriate boxes. So making sure that everything's there is accurate. And once that's all finished, we then publish the model. And once the model is published, then you can go and utilize that within your processes that you want. So whether that's monitor a Outlook inbox, whether it's an Exchange mailbox, whether it's to monitor a SharePoint document library or a OneDrive folder, all of that can be accomplished within the technology. So just a really quick way of how you can train an AI model, and ultimately, hopefully you can see that's quite a simple process. So yeah. So one of the key considerations with AI is the person's responsibility to review any AI generated content. So when we're looking at text generated content that you're going to go back to customers with, it is really critical that it is the person's responsibility to review it. AI isn't doing the job for you, it's just making it more efficient. And so just to close up this webinar, so I'll give everyone 5 minutes back. So on the back of this, we have a free 30-minute consultation on Power Platform and how Dynamics 365 and how AI can benefit your organization. So if you've started that journey and you're looking at really pushing it along, so if you've got invoices you're looking at processing, or there's identity you want to process, so identification, for example, then CPS can support you with that, and we'll be in touch shortly. So thank you all very much. I hope that's been a really good introduction into AI and Dynamics 365 Copilot. And I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thank you.